Hey, welcome back to Play and Trade Guitars. I'm John, that's Zach behind the camera, and this is Play and Trade Guitars, where we play it and trade it. You're here today because you're in the market for a new Martin guitar, and today I'm going to make it easy with a Martin buyer's guide. You might get overwhelmed by all the decisions regarding the prefix and suffix, O, triple O, D, OM, 18, 28, 45, on and on. I'm going to break all that down for you in simple, practical terms so that when you go and try out Martin guitars or you go shopping, you're more educated on what's available from Martin today. At the top, do us a favor. If you're in the market for a new Martin or any other gear, remember to click to buy new gear using our link. It does support us directly when you click to buy new gear using our link, so thank you. Also do us a favor and hit subscribe. You can check out our other buyer's guides and our full and comprehensive reviews on electric guitars, basses, acoustic guitars, and much more. All right, without further ado, let's dive into the Martin Guitar Buyer's Guide. You've already made the right decision shopping for a Martin. When you close your eyes and think of an acoustic guitar, you're gonna be picturing a Martin guitar. Iconic American company with nearly 200 years of history. And you can actually check out our Martin factory and museum tours here on the channel. Incredible opportunity for us to walk the factory floor at Martin and really show you the process up close of how these beautiful guitars are made, and also some of the iconic guitars that are in their legendary collection at the museum. Check those videos out too, links in the description. Let's get to work and find you the right Martin in today's market. All right, so you're shopping for a Martin, and to get on the same page and talk terms, you're probably familiar with the idea that when you see a Martin guitar, you're gonna see a name of a guitar like maybe D28 or OM18 or D15. And that's telling you a lot of information that can be confusing, but I wanna break that down and make it simple by telling you really the top things that you need to focus on when you're shopping for a Martin. The front part, or the prefix as Martin calls it, is fairly straightforward because generally it's pretty self-explanatory. If it's D, it stands for dreadnought. If it's OM, or O, or double O, or triple O, it's really indicating kind of the size of the guitar. And in this chart, I'm going to show you really the main Martin guitar body styles. The most important thing that you need to know about the body style and size is that the overall volume and bass response is driven by, generally speaking, the size of the guitar. The smallest Martin guitar in kind of the regular lineup would be the single O. It's called a concert O. And you can go all the way up to the mighty dreadnought. The quintessential dreadnought from Martin is going to be the most loud and projecting both in bass and volume. It's not always the case that for you, you're going to want the loudest guitar. One of the advantages of the smaller bodied, maybe the O or double O, is what they don't have in volume, sometimes they have in balance. So if you want a truly balanced sounding guitar for recording or maybe finger style, or for whatever purpose best suits you, bigger is not always better. The smaller body guitars can have a beautiful balance in tones. And just remember that as you go up the spectrum here, you're generally increasing in bass response and volume the bigger you get. And jumbo and M and all these larger body guitars still don't have quite the volume that, if you want to remember one thing, the mighty dreadnought is the loudest guitar that Martin makes. Also, if you want an extra small Martin, either because you have a child who's just learning and who has smaller hands, or you want a portable guitar that you can take with you while you travel, you can check out the Martin Junior line. That's a high quality guitar that's made of solid woods. You can check out the more budget LX line, which is a smaller guitar made of more budget level materials like high pressure laminate, but super affordable. So it's something, you know, throw in the back of your van or your camper and take with you when you travel. And you can also check out the incredibly cool Martin backpacker guitar, which has been on the top of mountains and in space and everywhere in between. All those are kind of the smaller guitars that if you have small hands, if you're a child or you want something portable, check those out. Most of what I'm breaking down in this guide is going to be kind of the standard offerings from Martin, what you'd expect when you think of kind of a professional level Martin guitar or a budget level equivalent, which Martin also makes among these characteristics. So number one, we said that volume and bass response is driven by body style and size. And you can see the body styles broken down here from smallest to largest: O, double O, triple O, OM, Grand Performance or GP, the newly designed SC. Then huddled together here, we have the J for Jumbo, 4-0 or quadruple O or M style guitar, which is like a jumbo but with a less depth in the body. And then up to the top, most projecting again is dreadnought. So if there's anything that you want to remember from this, the smaller guitars are going to be the O to triple O. Those also have a shorter scale length, by the way, of 24.9 inches. And then the full-size guitars are going to be anything from the OM all the way up to the dreadnought in terms of overall volume. All those have a full-size Martin scale length of 25.4 inches. Number two thing that you need to know. Once you get your mind around the idea that the size of the body is going to have a big impact on the projection of the overall guitar, which may or may not be the right thing for you, we're going to talk about what wood is the guitar actually built from, or what wood substitute in the case of a more budget level guitar, because this is going to drive not only the price of the guitar, but it is going to drive the tone. The wood that the guitar is made of will affect the tone of the guitar. And two, right at the top, I'll tell you a lot of this comes down to two woods in the standard series. Is the back and sides made of mahogany or is the back and sides made of rosewood? For example, if I look at a guitar like the D18, that 18 is telling you that you have a spruce top with mahogany back and sides. If I look at a D28, it's telling us that it's the same guitar, but instead of mahogany back and sides, it has rosewood. One little thing to remember is that rosewood is more expensive than mahogany. It doesn't mean it's necessarily better because the tonal characteristics are actually different. You might prefer mahogany, and you might end up saving a little bit of money depending on the circumstances if you go with mahogany over rosewood. But back in the day, this is a helpful hint, that suffix or number at the end was originally the price of the guitar. So remember, if it was a more expensive guitar, 18 meant $18. So this is back in the 1800s. 28 meant $28, so on and so forth. So maybe a D36 or a D45, the incremental amount of price beyond 20s, once you get into the 30s and the 40s, it's not really about the wood anymore, it's about the additional labor involved in the finishing details. Maybe it has a more ornate rosette sound hole, or maybe it has that beautifully pearl inlaid CF Martin on the headstock, or more intricate inlays across the guitar, or herringbone binding on the guitar. All these finishing details add to the cost, but don't necessarily change the tone of the guitar. So most of the tonal characteristics and determining factors of a Martin guitar are going to be determined by the time you get up to 28 at the end of the name. What that also means on the flip side is that that number in the back end of the name tells you a whole lot between 1 and 28. For example, if you see 1 in the suffix of a Martin guitar name, it means that the guitar is made completely of high pressure laminate. That might be okay if you want a super affordable rugged guitar, but don't expect that at that great price point you're going to get solid woods on that guitar. 1 is high pressure laminate. 2, for example, would be high pressure laminate with a solid top. So again, incremental increase in the overall level of the guitar. Jumping up through the numbers, it gets a little bit interesting. At 10, for example, you have Sapele back and sides. At 11, you have Sapele back and sides, solid spruce top. Sapele is like a cousin of mahogany. So again, it's going to be similar to mahogany, a little bit more budget level wood. When we get to 15, it starts to get interesting. 15 is really, to me, kind of the mid-level, kind of professional grade, but mid-level guitar offering 15, 16, and 17. If it's 16 in the suffix, it's really kind of a working level professional grade guitar. 15 is interesting because it means mahogany. 15, remember mahogany. Typically, if it says 15 in the end of the name, the guitar is made out of mahogany. That can mean literally a guitar with a mahogany top, mahogany back and sides, neck, everything out of mahogany. 16 is more of a mixed bag because 16, they have a little bit more leeway in which solid woods. So they're committing to giving you solid woods, but they have a little more leeway on which ones they use in order to put together a professional level package that gives a lot of features, but at an affordable price point. 17 is where, again, incrementally it gets interesting because now we're looking at a spruce top, mahogany back and sides, and a satin finish. And my number 3 kind of most important thing to think about when you're looking at Martins is going to be finish, because honestly it changes the playing experience. It also changes the price of the guitar because you can get the same guitar in a gloss or a satin finish. The satin finish is going to cost less because, again, less labor is involved. It's less labor to do a nitro finish in satin than it is to do in gloss, so those savings are passed on to you, but you also need to know the playing experience is a little bit different. You might prefer the feel of satin. It's a little bit more eggshell, kind of satin, silky smooth than gloss, which can be a little bit stickier at times. And it's kind of a personal preference, but just be aware you'll pay up for the full gloss nitro finish in a standard level guitar. You'll save a little money on satin if you don't mind the satin. Good way to save money. The look of the guitar is also a little bit different. So 17 to 18. The only difference between 17 and 18 then, again, incrementally, is going to be satin versus gloss. So pay attention to the finish on these guitars, because now when we get to, let's look at the D18, an iconic guitar, beautiful guitar, workhorse guitar from Martin. The D18 telling you it's a dreadnought. In 18 styling is going to tell you spruce top, mahogany back and sides. Remember this, 18 is where we enter the standard level world of Martin. Professional level, iconic guitars from Martin. 18, what is it telling you? Mahogany back and sides. Directly comparable, D18, let's compare it to a D28. Stepping up to 28, spruce top, but instead of mahogany back and sides, we have rosewood back and sides. Rosewood is a more expensive wood. It's also a denser wood. So the tone between rosewood and mahogany is one of the largest distinctions that you can shop for when looking at Martin guitars. You can check out our demos to see how those sound one versus the other, D18 versus D28, for example. So once we've gotten to the D28, we've gone with the rosewood back and sides, the spruce top. If we start dressing it up beyond 28 level appointments in a Martin guitar, getting into the, let's say, a D36 or D45, D36, you're taking that rosewood and splitting it into a 3-piece back, which has a very distinct and beautiful look. And then once we're into the 40s, we're not improving the guitar in any sonic way. What we're doing is, again, adding finishing details to the guitar. And all that bling costs extra money. So just remember, once you get past the 20s, you're really generally just increasing the price because of labor and cosmetic appointments, which, if that is what you want, these are absolutely stunning guitars and they're beautiful, as you can see. The next kind of higher level categories here, the first one I'm going to talk about is the distinction between a more traditional, authentic take on Martin guitars of the past versus more modern appointments that are going into some of the new guitars today. If you want a traditional recreation, for example, of a golden era Martin from, the 1930s or 1940s, this is going to be something that you can find in the authentic line. They even go out of their way to age the top, to make it actually dynamically age through their own process, to bring that guitar in as close as possible to the sound of an authentic old Martin from the golden era. These guitars will cost a lot more money because a lot of painstaking detail is put into getting these right. They're built by hand, and they're really stunningly beautiful guitars. But the kind of philosophical question to ask is, do you want something more traditional? You can go that route, or do you want more modern? Because also at a higher price point, for example, is the Modern Deluxe collection. The Modern Deluxe will take a standard level guitar and dress it up with modern appointments. And when I say modern, this is going to sound pretty modern because it's everything from carbon fiber bridge plates to liquid metal pins that hold the strings into the bridge itself. And characteristics like that is typically going to enhance the volume and overall projection of the guitar, but these are unique modern twists on these classic guitars. So modern versus traditional or authentic becomes an important deciding factor here too. A more affordable and very modern guitar is the newly designed body style. This is the SC. It's the first body design that's been designed by Martin in a long time. And it's actually offered in the affordable Road series, which is an affordable level professional grade guitar. These are made in Mexico, but it allows them to pack a lot into a great price. All right, we talked authentic versus modern and everything in between. Let's just revisit this whole collection from one more perspective, one more time, and that's budget versus professional grade guitars. Professional grade guitar to me is going to be something like the standard series, like maybe a D18 or a D28. It's going to come with a hard shell case. You can have electronics with it. You can choose actually nowadays gloss or satin finish on the nitro finish. But these are going to be professional level, practically investment grade guitars made by Martin in Nazareth, Pennsylvania. Absolutely beautiful, the quintessential kind of Martin lineup, if you will. And then you take all those body styles, everything else that we talked about, and Martin has made it very affordable these days to buy a guitar, for example, in the X series or the Rhodes series. And the main driving factor of saving money here is going to be the wood choices and where it's made. Typically they're made in Mexico, and they're made of more budget-friendly woods, like either high-pressure laminate on the lower end, or just budget-level guitars like sapele instead of mahogany. And a lot of that is going to be reflected in price, but only to a point, again. Because the right guitar for you is not only determined by price, but again should be determined by your playing preferences with what type of volume and balance do you want in the tone, what type of woods do you prefer, and yeah, how much do you want to spend, but only up until a certain point, because remember, beyond a certain point, you're really just paying for cosmetic appointments, which you may or may not want. And it is incredible to me. It is really hard to overstate just how synonymous Martin is with the steel string, flat top, American guitar. To define the American steel string guitar, you're talking about Martin, the company that invented the dreadnought, that put steel strings on a guitar, that invented X bracing to allow for those steel strings to work on an acoustic guitar, that expanded playability by adding the neck to the guitar at the 14th fret instead of the 12th fret, and larger body sizes to keep up with louder bands. And the way that that fits across music genres, you cannot overstate the impact of Martin guitars on what it means to be an acoustic guitar. So in that sense, if you're shopping for a Martin, you've already made the right decision. The point in this guide is to break down all these features and what to look for. It is somewhat driven by price, but it's also driven by preference. So just remember, just because it's more money doesn't necessarily mean it's the right choice for you. And Martin offers a lot of great guitars at every price point these days. And now that you're done watching this guide, watch our Martin demos. We have demos on the channel. We'll demo everything from the D28, D18 down to the Rhodes series in a kind of beautifully affordable package, on down to the Junior, LX, you name it. We want to cover all those Martin guitars. You can watch those demos on our channel, and be sure to also check out the Martin Factory Tour and Museum Tour here on Play and Trade Guitars. And when you're in the market for gear, we ask that you do us a favor and click to buy new gear using our link. Not only do you help us when you buy gear using our link, but you get fast free shipping and really easy payment plans that makes buying new gear so easy. Check out those payment plans. It's well worth looking into. Click our link to do that. Remember to subscribe to our channel. Hit subscribe, hit like, drop a comment, let us know which acoustic guitars you're in the market for, what at Martin has your eye, and which Martins do you already have. Let us know your experience down in the comments. Thanks for watching this guide. Check out our demos. We'll see you on the next video. For Play and Trade Guitars, I'm John. That's Zach behind the camera. We'll see you next time. Thanks for hanging out.